Greetings, friends, and thank you for the privilege of allowing me to share my story. Pastor Elroy approached me a few days ago and just said, hey, would you please tell the story of how you've come to Wilshire, what your ministry is about, and how we can pray for you. So it's my privilege to share that in the next few moments. So my wife Robin and I, we're both from the Northern California Bay Area, and we actually knew each other in high school. And then after college, we found each other again and were married early part of '93. And then a few years later, we ended up in seminary, in Fuller Seminary in Southern California, and our ministry career together began. We actually, like I said, we're both from the Bay Area, and Robin's family comes from the education world, and my father was in transportation and airlines, and so we both love books, and we both love to travel. So that has been a part of our lives ever since. So we have two grown boys that are now, one in Arizona, one is in the Plano, Texas area, and we're really proud of them. And they were both raised at Wilshire Avenue Community Church, and we're super proud of that. They did really well there, and we had a wonderful experience there. We came to Wilshire Avenue in, I want to say Christmas of 1996, and it was great. It was wonderful to come. We were told when we joined that, and to pastor there, that they wanted us to reach the next generation, but don't change anything. And so that was a challenge. And over the next 18 and a half years as pastor of Wilshire Avenue, we changed everything. I'm just looking at my notes. We had building renovations. We had new services. We've added staff changes. There were governance changes. There was new mission, new values. We did leadership development emphasis and things like that. Over the 18 years or so, everything changed, and it was quite a change journey. But it was in those years of learning about congregational change and about vision and mission and values and leading a church through change. That combined with my Doctor of Ministry program at Fuller Seminary really helped me wrestle with how do we understand the dynamics of congregations, what leaders go through in the middle of change, how to lead in the middle of a system, and what that all looks like, and then, of course, how to develop and disciple leaders, especially in this new 21st century postmodern world that we're experiencing. It was really a privilege to learn and to grow. How do we make leaders who then replicate and make other leaders? So that was an interesting time. So those last 10 years of our ministry there was really spent kind of in that dimension. How do we lead? How do we raise leaders and continue to push and love the city that Jesus loves? So before I left Wilshire Avenue in 2015, I was also consulting a lot with other churches. There were just opportunities to go and to be part of other board meetings and to help them think through mission and vision and values and where they want to go and how do they want to reach their city. How do I look into their past and see what was healthy, what was unhealthy, and how to move forward? So it was a privilege to be a part of other churches' lives, other pastors along the way. And all of that was part of God preparing me for the ministry that he brought us to in about 2015. About 3 years before that, in about 2012, 2013, there was just an inner restlessness in me, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what it was. I was consulting lots of churches. I was traveling overseas and teaching elsewhere. But God was really preparing me. And I fought it and I wrestled against it because I didn't know where God would put us next and wasn't even sure it was him calling, but then realized he was up to something really good. And so through a serendipitous, I think God-ordained connection to Sam Metcalf at a ministry called CRM, Church Resource Ministries, based there in Anaheim, California. They've now called NOVO, which stands for Make New, so Latin for Make New. And when I came across this organization, I realized they do leadership development in countries all over the world. They're interested in new expressions of the gospel in new places, inner cities, different language contexts, different kinds of people group contexts. I was really excited about it. And so for the first part of 2015, we began to talk and dream together what it might look like for me to partner with them. And so right about the middle of 2015, it was really clear that God was calling us to that ministry. So I have since been on the refocusing team, which is part of the Church Next grouping within NOVO. And so my ministry essentially is in 4 areas. There's 4 dimensions that I work with. The first is called the missional pathway. And that was also part of my research for my doctoral project, was to understand how do churches live into the city, serve lost people so that new disciples are made. And so I was brought into the refocusing team, and I'm now part of a team that trains pastors and consults with churches. And I'm often gone almost every weekend in a different city working with a church to help them figure out who they are, where they're going, what needs are in the city, how to prepare their people to literally love and serve. We like to say life on life, the same lost people over and over, so that relationships are made, conversations about Jesus take place, and then new disciples ultimately are made. So that is a major portion of what I do. I'm traveling all the time. At least I was before COVID, and I think it's starting up again. But that's part of that experience. And so we have training events and then literally consulting with churches. So I can usually do between 3 and 5 churches a year in that process. Since the process takes about 9 to 12 months, I'm continually working with a number of churches at the same time and count it a real privilege. So I've been in various states throughout the U.S., and at the same time, many of them are in Southern California, as they're also connected to Transformation Ministries, with which I'm still very deeply connected and privileged to do that. So the missional pathway is one. I also coach about 30 pastors per month on a monthly call, whether by Zoom or by phone, where I'm really encouraging them, mentoring them, helping them to figure out how to get through the obstacles that they're bumping up against. There's so much that pastors are facing. We got the world, the flesh, and the devil, plus everything else. And so it's just my privilege to be for them, in many ways, what I wish I could have had when I was in their place. Many of these pastors are younger, and so I get to be a safe sounding board for them. And at the same time, I get to push them, read this, think about this, check this website out, consider this. So I get to push them further into church health, into their own personal health, their own spiritual formation, to make them better leaders. So really, really fun. So about 30 pastors a month I get to do that with. And then I'm also working with Transformation Ministries in the area of what's called StratOps, which is essentially helping a church over the course of a long weekend and then following subsequent visits to do a very deep dive on a strategic planning process, to really help a church pause and reflect. Where has it been? What's been working? What has God been up to? What has been a struggle? What should we lean into? What should we let go of? And so as we take the key leaders of the church through a process over a very long weekend, we really kind of give descriptions and then prescriptions as it emerges really clearly what God wants to do next in that context. And then we continue to coach those pastors for the next few years to help the whole congregation to lean into what's been discovered. And then it's interesting, oftentimes we'll discover that what the church needs next is the missional pathway. And so I get to revisit that at the same time. So God seems to be doing some really creative work in linking all these things together. So strategic planning is the third part. And then finally, I've been teaching overseas in a variety of places. I've been in Guatemala, in South Korea. I've done some teaching over in India. And then for the last about 5-6 years or so, I've been able to travel many times to Ukraine and to Russia through Odessa Theological Seminary, working out of Ukraine. And I've worked in various places doing pastoral conferences and teaching formal courses in spiritual formation and missional leadership, which is just a leadership course with a whole missional bent to how to love and serve and make new disciples. So I've done that a lot in Odessa and also through Moscow Theological Seminary, based in Moscow, which has learning centers all over Russia. And so it's been my privilege to be a part of that as well, to be working with leaders and pastors throughout those countries. And I pray for them. I love them. I love to see what God is doing in their context and to be a part of all of that. So that has been the bulk of my ministry in the last 5 years or so through NOVO. And I continue to be excited about where that's all going. I'm also working on a book project that's been in the works for about 1.5 years or so. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to integrate leadership skills and character formation and intimacy with the Lord, and then also the realm of spiritual authority and power. I'm trying to bring all of that together. And so I'm looking at various authors that have really impacted me over the years as I've learned and grown in each of those areas. I think Jesus clearly embodies full knowledge and experience and expression in those 4 areas. And my thesis is that if we don't if we miss some of those areas, if we don't pay attention to those four quadrants, if you will, then our leadership, our ministry can suffer. It can get us in some ways. So it's my privilege to try to figure out how they all link together and find Bible characters that embody them or that may have missed some of those. And then I get to figure out how to share that with other pastors and leaders who hopefully will read the book. So really excited about that. It has been a long journey, and I've still got some chapters to write, but it has been a good growth journey for me as well. I just want to encourage you, if you want to be praying for Robin and I, these are just some things that are on our hearts. First of all, we just are always asking, as missionaries, as fully funded missionaries that receive our support from individuals and churches, we just are always asking the Lord would continue to provide in creative ways through God's people. And so thank you if you are part of our support team. We're so grateful for your contribution, for making this ministry around the world take place. And we just appreciate your being a part of that team. And if you're interested in being a part of it, please let me know. And we'd love to bring you on board. So continue to pray for healthy finances for our ministry. We're also wrestling with how do we expand the missional pathway into some whole new markets, whole new parts of the country, pastors and leaders in different denominational tribes throughout our nation. We're even asking questions, how do we begin to get this overseas into other contexts and different cultures and languages? It's already being translated into Spanish. I'd love to see this material into Ukrainian, into Russian, and possibly some other languages as well. So just be praying about how we might deepen our impact to the missional pathway in the U.S. and also abroad. Robin, my wife, is teaching as a high school teacher in a local high school here in Conroe, Texas. She has just inaugurated the AVID program, which she brought that program to the school, which really helps a lot of students that just need a little more energy, they just need a little more support, and then they can really step into their careers or move on into college. And so she's really excited about bringing that to the high school. It would really be a great lift for the community if more students will really move into careers that are great for their families to be, and also for a possible future education in college and getting into the colleges. So the AVID program helps resource them and allow them to get to those places. So really excited about her bringing that. We're praying that would really take place and be healthy and grow and would expand throughout our community. And then there's just been some interesting opportunities that God's been allowing me to, as I'm coaching some African-American pastors, and even recently an African-American pastor reached out to me here in the Conroe, Texas area that I've known a bit, and we're getting closer, and there's a mentoring relationship that's begun to get started as I work with him on some projects for his seminary training. But also we're asking questions and praying through how do we begin to demonstrate and bring about some deeper reconciliation, racial reconciliation in our own city amongst God's people. So those are fun questions for us to be praying through, thinking about, seeing what God is up to. So we're kind of excited about that. So those are some things you can be praying for us about. We really appreciate Wilshire Avenue, the ministry that it's had in my life as the people there, and how they have shaped me and how God has used that. And then it's been fun to think about how God used me to bring about some changes that I think have been healthy for the church as well. So really proud to see it in a good direction with its current pastor. Super proud of what's going on there and Rob. And so just love him and his family. And so it's just really, really a great privilege to have Wilshire Avenue being part of our support team as well. We love you. We bless you. Thank you for allowing me to share just what God's been doing and is doing, and hopefully will be doing in and through us. Lord bless you. Thank you. God bless.